Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights. It's a pleasure to welcome you all here today.
Fresh and friendly faces at the table, so welcome for those of you who are not normally part of our committee. Today, we've been gathered. The four opposition members of the committee have asked for requests for a meeting pursuant to Standing Order 1064 to discuss their request to study developments in the accusation that the Prime Minister and his well, I won't even go into that. I will just say that I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Poilievre to explain the rationale for the meeting and take it away.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to move my motion first and then begin discussing it, or would you rather I do it in reverse order?
Whichever you prefer.
Okay, I have a motion here that following the public statements of March 6th by Ms. Jody Wilson-Raybould offering to provide more information to Canadians should it be requested, the committee requests that she appear no later than Thursday, March 14th.
Thank you very much. Mr. Poilievre, Mr. Poilievre, basically at the last meeting, the motion that the committee had adopted was that the committee consider next steps and potential additional witnesses on Tuesday, March 19th, 2019. This motion would negate that motion. It would go against the spirit of it. So my recommendation to you for the motion is that you say in the scope of your motion, notwithstanding the motion that the committee adopted at its previous meeting on March 6, 2019 at the beginning of your motion.
That is fine.
Okay. So then the motion is receivable. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We are back here today to discuss whether the Prime Minister interfered politically in the criminal prosecution of a Liberal-linked corporation, SNC-Lavalin. The request is for Jody Wilson-Raybould to have the opportunity to complete her testimony. You will recall that Ms. Wilson-Raybould was not allowed to complete her testimony at her last appearance.
Point of order, Mr. Clerk. I just saw someone taking a picture of us. So please, I want him to erase it, please.
Absolutely. We didn't see that, but please, would you mind? Thank you very much. Merci, Monsieur Berthold. Please continue, Mr. Poilievre.
Yes. So Ms. Wilson-Raybould was not permitted to complete her testimony. The Prime Minister granted her a limited waiver, applying only to the period during which she was Attorney General. However, after he removed her from that position, she witnessed events that were so egregious, she considered it warranted her resignation from cabinet altogether. Canadians deserve to know what those events were. So far, the Prime Minister has kept in place a partial gag order preventing them from finding out. If I could make an illustration of that gag order, let me read back into the record an exchange at this committee between the Honourable Lisa Raitt, Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party, and the former Attorney General. For clarity, can you tell us what you discussed with the Prime Minister at your meetings in Vancouver on February 11th? Jody Wilson-Raybould. I cannot. Can you tell us why you resigned from Cabinet? I cannot. Can you tell us what was discussed with the Cabinet on February 19th? I cannot. Ms. Raitt then asks, if the issues surrounding your ability to communicate these conversations to this committee were resolved, and you were able to be released from cabinet confidence or from privilege, would you be willing to return to this committee and give us testimony again? I would be, she answers. In other words, this is not just another kick at the can. This is, the motion proposes to give Ms. Wilson-Raybould her first opportunity to tell the full story. Now, members across the way may try to come up with excuses for silencing her and preventing her from speaking on behalf of the Prime Minister, who's indicated he does not want her to say any more. So one of the excuses might be, it'll take a lot of time. We should be focused on other things. Well, Parliament can walk and chew gum at the same time. We have numerous parliamentary committees that can work on budgetary matters, environmental matters, legislative matters in other places. We have a Parliament of two chambers which can debate any other matters at any other time, even while Ms. Wilson-Raybould is testifying here. So there's no reason why Cabinet can't continue doing its work on a whole range of other issues through its regular meetings while she comes here and testifies. In other words, there's no reason why the business of government and Parliament cannot go on while Ms. Wilson-Raybould is allowed to complete her testimony. Second, they might say that the matters that she would discuss are out of bounds, that they happened after she left as Attorney General, and therefore they are not up for discussion in this study. Well, that would be a funny excuse, because the Prime Minister and Gerald Butts have both made comments that zero in on the time period about which Ms. Wilson-Raybould is forbidden to speak. So they can speak about it. They can talk about those time frames. They can give specific interventions about what went on after she was removed as Attorney General. But so far, she cannot. So it's not out of bounds for them. Therefore, it must not be out of bounds for her. And finally, some might say, well, she had an awful long time to speak already, and therefore she doesn't need to speak again. Well, as I pointed out, there are, as she has pointed out, in a letter to you, Mr. Chair, she specifically highlighted the restrictions that she was under while she was here the first time, and indicated that there are additional material events that occurred outside of that way that she has not been permitted to speak about. Those events, of course, being so severe, so important, and so egregious that they caused her to resign from Cabinet altogether. Now, we know her resignation was linked to this particular scandal. She has not been able to tell us exactly what triggered the resignation, but we do know that it was in relation to the Prime Minister's political interference to shelve the criminal charges against this Liberal-linked corporation. In other words, it is pertinent to the terms of this particular study. So I think the ball is in the court of Prime Minister Trudeau, and it is for him and his representatives to explain what harm would it do if she were to complete her testimony. How would the public interest be diminished if she were allowed to come back here and tell the things that she was forbidden to say last time? What harm would it cause Canadians to find out the whole truth? I can think of nothing. And so we've heard the first part of the truth, but the rest of the truth remains a secret. We simply ask that the committee agree that she come back here, that the Prime Minister lift the remaining partial gag order, and that we let her speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poilievre.